Namaskar. Welcome to this second session of the 18th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with our gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is preserved, transmitted so as to reach us since generations. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn these scriptures and share this understanding with you. We start with the prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So 18th Adhyaya is the summary of the Gita Ji, the entire Bhagavad Gita. It's called the Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, which means attainment of freedom or liberation by renunciation. Now, sannyasa, as we understand, renunciation is very different from what Lord Krishna understands, and that's why the Adhyaya starts with that question from Arjuna. The method of teaching of Vedanta and Upanishada is to summarize what they want to say initially, what Bhagavan did in the second Adhyaya. In a nutshell, he gave the entire message of the Gita Ji, how we have to adjust our life accordingly, how we have to understand what is this Tattva, this Gnana, how we can reach it by Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gnana Yoga, and what is that status or state of the Sthita Prajna, who is the wise, who is the learned, who is the enlightened person. So all these was given in the second Adhyaya, and from the 13th to the 17th Adhyaya, the detailed description of all the three gunas, the Bhakti, Akshara, Brahma Yoga, Daivi, Asuri, Sampati, a lot of Vistara was said. And Bhagavan talked about his own eternal self, the Akshar Brahma Yoga, the Kshetra Kshetragna Vibhaga Yoga, the Purushottama Yoga, all these describe the Ishwaratva of the Lord. And finally, the 18th Adhyaya, Bhagavan is summarizing what is already said about what we need to understand in this life, what is the vision of the Lord, what we need to develop kind of vision, and for that, what we need to do in our life. So many subjects which are very important in our life have been already described, and that's why it's a very, very important Adhyaya of Gita Ji. It starts with the Arjuna's question. He has known these two words, Tyaga and Sannyasa, and that's why he wants to know this differentiation between the Sannyasa and the Tyaga. That is clearly he wants to understand, because Bhagavan has used Tyaga and Sannyasa in very different perspectives during the Gita Ji. And Bhagavan obliges by giving him a very clear answer. He shows him the clear difference between the Tyaga and the Sannyasa. He says giving up Sakama Karma, Kamyanam Karma is Sannyasa, and this is what is known by the wise people. And Sarva Karma Phala Tyaga, and that is what is the Tyaga in the understanding of Shri Krishna, and that is what is Tyaga. So essentially, in the third Adhyaya beginning, in response to Arjuna's question again, Bhagavan had showed two different lifestyles which our scripture described. Lokesmin Dvivida Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanaga Gnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Karmanam. So Pravrutti Marg, the Karma Marg, most of us are Adhikaritva, we are suitable, we are eligible for this Marga, and we have to learn to change our karma into Karma Yoga. Bhagavan, in the view of the Lord, this is the more safe and the preferred path for us, so that we become matured, we become more, our mind becomes more peaceful. And this starts with Karma Yoga, where Karma Phala Tyaga is the main form of Tyaga here. And then finally, once the mind is more matured, when there is a peace of mind, the Akanksha, expectations from the world has subsided, and that with that purity of mind, one can go into Sannyasa or Nivritti Parayana, Gnana Yoga Sadhana, and here is where the Karma Tyaga is allowed or is permitted by the scriptures. So summarizing the first session, Bhagavan already described the Tyaga and the Sannyas clearly, and then he shows what is the opinion of the wise and what is his opinion, that certain karmas like Gnana, Tapa, Dana, they should not be given up. A lot of other karma, the Kamya karma, should be given up. And then he describes the three types of karma, Phala Tyaga, the Tamasic, Rajasic and the Sattvic. describes the steps of the spiritual journey starting from Karma Yoga, says that actions, Karma Tyaga is not possible for most of us. Only we need to relieve, or we need to tyaga the expectations of these results of these actions. And then it describes the 3 types of Karma Phala, the Ishta, Anishta and the Mishram Phala. Then shows the 5 factors responsible for all the karma, Karma Chodana, like the Adhisthana, Karma, Karma Karta, Karana, and all these 5 factors. Then shows the 3 sadhana through which karma is done, Sharira, Vanga, Mana, Sharira, speech, words, and our mind, through which we do all our actions. Shows the wrong vision, the Durmati, and shows the correct vision, the Sumati, what is the right vision. Though I am the Karta, but I am still by my Tattvataha, by my Swarupa, I am Akarta Swarupa. If this is the understanding, that is the correct vision in the eyes of the Lord. And then he shows the three factors which inspire us into actions, karma, and 3 factors which are needed for all the actions to be performed, karma sangraha. So we'll start with the 18th shloka of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Gnanam gneyam parignata trividha karma chodana karanam karma karteti trividha karma sangraha. So Bhagavan says there are the 3 factors which inspire us into action, which are the karma preraka for us, and there are 3 factors which are actually needed for us to perform the actions. They are called the karma sangraha. The 3 factors which inspire us into action or which impels us into action is 1, Bhagavan says gnanam, the knowledge. Only for knowledge will inspire us into action. So knowledge is the most important thing, the gnana. And then the gneyam, the subject or the object of the knowledge. In Hindi or in Gujarati we say the subject of the knowledge, Vishaya, subject, but in English we call it the object, because subject refers to the gnata, the knower is the subject. So that is the difference, but the object of the knowledge, the gneya, and the person who knows it is the knower, is the gnata. So these are the 3 things which actually inspires us into all kinds of karma, all types of action, gnana, gneya and gnata. And Bhagavan says there are 3 things which are needed, which are essential for all actions to be performed. And these 3 things are called karma sangraha, karanam. Karanam means all the tools and the means, the sadhana, the instruments which are needed to perform all actions. The karma means actually the object of the action, like walking, cycling, swimming, all the kriya is the object of the action, the karma. And the karta, one who is the performer or the doer of the action, karta is important. So these are the 3 things which are needed for us to complete the action. And there is a very close correlation between gnana and karma, between knowledge and actions. And this is what Bhagavan is trying to tell us. All our life is involved in either getting knowledge through our jnanendriyas or performing actions through our 5 karmendriyas. And through these senses, we collect all the information from outside and we do whatever we want to do. In the sense, we interact with the world through these 10 indriyas, the senses, the sense organs. And that's why all our life is filled with these 2 things. Either it is acquiring knowledge, we want to know something, that's why we do something, and that's why we are into action. And that's why there is a very close relationship between the gnana and the karma, which Bhagavan is describing here. But the first important thing is to have the gnana, because that inspires us into action. So gnana is fundamentally more important than karma. Say for example, we are looking at an advertisement on the television or in a movie. What happens first is that this gives us some information. With this knowledge, we always have the desire to acquire something, and then it springs us into action to buy that. Either we order it online or we go to the store and buy it. So knowledge is fundamentally more important than actions. And knowledge can be, of course, knowledge, one word can be of 2 types. One, sadhana. It could be the means of understanding. It could be the information which helps us to understand something. This is called the sadhana gnana, or the means of the tool to understand the ultimate knowledge. And then we inspire into action, and then the ultimate gnana that we call in Adhyatma is the Atma Gnana or Brahma Gnana, which is the goal. So this is how we have to understand. The Gnata, knower, who understands his Gnana, the knowledge, when he starts doing the action, then he becomes the Karta for performing the actions, and he does all these actions. So for performing actions, we need several sadhana, the tools and the means, which are called karana. And these tools and means are nothing but our stool and the sukshma sharira. Stool sharira is our body, sukshma sharira is our senses and our minds, the karmendriyas, the mana and the buddhi that is needed to do this action. So all these are called karana. So this is called the karya karana sanghata. Means the karya is the stula sharira, the karana is the sukshma sharira, and the sanghata is the samu, the collectiveness of all these which we call ourselves, what we identify as I, is what is needed to perform these actions. And it's important to understand the three differences, the sattvic, rajasic and the tamasic of all these jnana, karma, karta, and that is what Bhagavan is going to show us here in this adhyaya. Lord Krishna is teaching us the important essential life skills by this understanding, by showing us all these different types of sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, jnana, karma, karta and buddhi and all these other things. Is trying to tell us that we should get into the sattvic mode. From all the tamasic and the rajasic, we should get into sattvic before we can go beyond the three gunas. And so first goal, first siddhi or first lakshya in Adhyatma is the purity of the mind, getting into the sattvic mode, going sattvic. And then finally, once we are sattvic, then we can understand this jnana, the Atma Gnana or the Brahma Gnana, which is described in the Gita Ji. So the 19th shloka, Gnanam karma cha karta cha tridhaiva guna bhedataha prochyate guna sankhyane yathavat shrunutyanyapi. So Bhagavan pledges to describe the three differences based on all the three different gunas, the sattva, rajas and the tamas guna of the three things, the jnana, karma and the karta. So he's going to show us all these differences which will help us understand what is sattvic, how we can come to sattvic, what is that understanding. It will tell us what we are actually, how we are doing our actions, how we are understanding our knowledge. And gnanam karma cha karta cha. He's already shown earlier the difference between gnana and karma. Now he's showing the three differences of gnana, karma and karta according to the three gunas, three types of attributes. Guna bhedataha prochyate guna sankhyane, as has been described in the scriptures which describe this guna in great details. Bhagavan says yathavat, as it is described there in those guna sankhyane, those guna shastra. I'm going to tell you, Arjuna, please listen to me carefully. This is important for you, for your life, to assimilate this knowledge in your life so that you can really go towards the sattvika, satbhavna. 20th shloka, Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavamavyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam vidhi sattvikam. So Bhagavan is describing what is a sattvic jnana. He's starting with the sattvic knowledge. What is sattvic jnana? He says, Sarva bhuteshu yena. When with all the beings, when somebody, one person sees ekam avyayam bhavam, ikshate. Ikshate means sees or knows. And eka avyaya bhava. Avyaya bhava means one that is eternal, changeless. Bhavam means existence, that is behind all this different creation, all these beings, all these differences. When we see that eka, behind all these differences, we can see that one unifying, changeless. It's almost like a one thread in which all the beads are being, sewn together. If you can see that one string that binds everything, Bhagavan says, avibhaktam vibhakteshu. See the one undivided, avibhakta, undivided in all that we see, the divisions or divisions we see, khanda in this Brahmanda, whatever all divisions are there. Bhagavan says tat gnanam vidhi satmikam. Know that this knowledge is sattvika. Essentially, Bhagavan is trying to tell us that the true knowledge or true vision always unites. It never divides. Because today we see in the world, everything is talked about in terms of divisions. You see the newspaper, all the news, you listen to the TV, the debates, the political debates. Everything is to divide people based on either caste, culture, based on their nationality, based on their statehood, based on their religion, based on their faith, based on their country origin, based on what all things are there, male, female, everything, child, adult. So essentially, Bhagavan says that it is the unification, that is the real sattvic knowledge, that is the real knowledge. And the true knowledge from the Shastriya point of view, from the scriptural injunctions, is that there is only one unifying Brahman. And this Brahma is Eka Akhanda. Behind all this Khanda, it is just one Akhanda. It is Advitiya. It is Advaita. Advaita means it is non-dual. There is nothing else. It is not that there is one Brahma and there is something else. No, it is Advaita. And this is Brahma. That is what Vedanta says. Calls it Brahma. You can call it by any different name. You could say it's Tattva, it is Paramatma, it is Bhagwana, it is Ishvara, it is the essence behind everything. You could call it by any different name, but there is only one. You can call it Tattva, it can call it Paramatma, it could call it by different names, but there is only this one. And seeing this essentially in everything, all the differences, is the ultimate knowledge. That is where we have to reach in this spiritual quest. So this vision of one in the many, which is also called Abheda Buddhi, because it is so deeply ingrained in us since years, since generations, since many lives. And that's why we see all different types of people, all different types of species. We see all the differences everywhere. This is an Indian, this is an African, this is an American, all the different kinds of colors with people, all the different appearances, all the different natures, their different responses, their choices, their decisions, their emotions, everything. We see all the differences. But from that, what Bhagavan is trying to tell us, that we should try to go more seeing the unification, what unifies, what is one in everything. Say for example, in all the human bodies, if you see, we are all made of the same material, the same Pancha Mahabhuta. We all have the same organs, we all have the heart, we all have the lungs for purification of air, we have the kidneys, we have the liver. Everybody has all the same organs, the same muscles, the same nerves, the same brain, everybody has. Similarly, our mind, senses, intellect are also the same for everyone, though the type of thoughts that come up, depending on the impressions, depending on the sanskara, are different, but essentially everybody has the same mind, senses, indriya, 10 indriya sabke andar hai. Intellect, buddhi, brain, everybody has the same brain. So if we have a superficial vision, Guruji says that we see all the differences, but if we go deep into it, we do some vichar, viveka, then we can understand the oneness behind all these differences. And the wider the vision develops, lesser are the differences. As Guruji describes one example, as how we take off from a flight, from the ground we will see all the differences, but as we take off, even within the city, we will see all the houses look very similar. As we go really up, we will see all the areas. The city is also similar. We can't differentiate which one is what. And as we go even higher, we'll probably see all the states similar. And as we really go into the space or outer world, we'll see all the countries similar. We'll just see one world, and that's about it. So essentially, higher we go, the wider the vision, the more unifying is our vision. Essentially, we should try to see the order behind the chaos. Say, for example, we are stuck in the traffic jam, and in certain little time, the traffic gets organized and there is an order behind the chaos. So we are very used to seeing the chaos all the time, accidents, disasters, but behind that, there is some kind of a, some purpose, some order behind everything, which we'll try to see. So scriptures tell us that there is one universal order behind all that exists. There is this one tattva, which is called as Brahma in Vedanta. And this understanding of this oneness behind everything, all the existence, which is called Sat, Chit and the Ananda. Sat means the Nitya, Satya, existence, the Bhava. The Chit is the consciousness, the Gnana, the knowledge. And the Ananda is the bliss form. Behind everything, all the things, entire Brahmanda, everything is, there is one Satchit Ananda behind everything, and that is what is the Sattvic Gnana in the vision of the Lord. Then Bhagavan describes the Rajasic Gnana in the next shloka. Pruthatvena tutyaj gnanam nana bhavan pruthak vidhan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu taj gnanam vitti rajasam. Bhagavan says Pruthatvena tutyaj gnanam. When you see all the divisions in all the little different beings, that this is a different person, this is a different being, this is a different species, this is a different animal, this is a human, all this kind of division, what is our normal vision? Bhagavan says, Nana Bhavan Pruthak Vidhan. We see all the differences of all different types, nana bhava pruthak vidan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu. When we see this in all the living beings, different says, different species, taj jnanam viddhi rajasam, know that this knowledge of Bheda Buddhi, this knowledge is a Rajasic Jnana in the eyes of the Lord. And then Bhagavan describes a Tamasic Jnana. What is a Tamasic Jnana? Yattu krutsnavade kasmin karye sattamahaitukam atattvarthavadalpam cha tattamasamudayutam. Bhagavan says, Yattu ekasmin karye saktam. When you are attached to just one part of the action, maybe somebody is just attached to his profession, somebody is just attached to his son or a wife, or somebody is just attached to somebody, some person or some faith, and then one sees this krutsnavata completely. We see that this is the goal, this is the end of the world, we don't have to see anything else, and we don't even think about other options. This is the only work that we need to do. That is a kind of krutsnavata ahaitukam. And this understanding is without any reason or logic. It is not, there is no thought given to this kind of understanding. It could be wealth, it could be pleasures, it could be sense pleasures, it could be bhoga. And atattvarthavat. It is without much accomplishment. You don't reach any goals, you don't get much benefit, you don't get anything worthwhile out of it. Alpam cha. The results of such actions are also very meager, insignificant. They don't give us the long-standing pleasures or the long-standing joy that we all want. Tat tamasam udayutam. This kind of a knowledge, Bhagavan says, is the tamasic jnana, where you feel that this is just the thing that I need to do. You don't give much thought, don't give understanding, just, entire life we keep doing one thing, just gathering, doing our work, gathering money, getting money, this enjoying pleasures, again working, again getting some money, enjoying the pleasures. If this is what we keep doing, Bhagavan, in the eyes of the Lord, this is a tamasic jnana. Bhagavan next describes the karma, the three different types of karma. First, he describes the sattvic karma. Niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshatah krutam aphala prepsuna karma yattat satvikam uchyate. Bhagavan says niyatam karma. Niyatam karma is already said earlier in the 4th adhyaya. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jayo ya karmanaha. Niyat karma means your kartavya karma, your duty. Whatever is our duty at any point of time, wherever we are, in our home, in our work, as a son, as a father, as different roles that we play in our life, as a society member, as a country person who represents the country. All these we have our own duty, and that if we do it according to what is described in the Shastra, according to our duty, we do it in the Swadharma, Palana, and that is done sangarahitam, which is done without attachment to the actions or the results. We don't think what we'll get out of whatever we do. We do it as our duty. We should do it. Aragadveshatah krutam. And these actions, kartavya karma, not only without attachments, but without our strong personal likes and dislikes. Yes, general likes and dislikes. Everybody has, preference for a particular type of food or a home or people. That is okay. But having strong likes or dislikes, which are called raga, dvesha, we should avoid this. Aphala prepsunayata. And these actions are also done without strong expectation of the results. Phala means the result, the fruits of the actions, which should be done more from a selfless perspective. Bhagavan says, Tat Satvikam Uchyate. These kind of actions, this kind of karma, niyatam karma, which are done without sangarahita, raga dveshata, aphala prepsunam, this kind of actions are called sattvika karma. So, in the eyes of the Lord, no action is superior, inferior. In the eyes of us, a higher officer is a superior officer, a lower worker is an inferior officer. But in the eyes of the Lord, it is on the intention of what kind of intention, attitude is there behind the bhava, behind the karma, behind the action that we do, determines whether it is sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. The sattvic, of course, is the highest kind of a karma, which in the eyes of the Lord is something that we need to acquire. Though he does not say that, it is the interpretation of this message that we have to go from tamasic, rajasic towards sattvika. In the next shloka, Bhagavan describes the rajasic action. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena vahunaha क्रियते बहुलायासं तद्राजस समुदायुतम्. So yattu kamepsuna karma. All the actions which are inspired by kam epsu means kamana, desires, only which inspires all of the actions. Sahankarena va punaha. They are done again and again, punaha punaha, by ahankara. Sah ahankarena va. It is done with arrogance, with a pride, with the egotism that I have done it, I can do it, nobody else can do it as good as I can do it. This kind of an arrogance when it is done. Kriyate bahul asaya. Bahul ayasa means done with a lot of exertion, lot of efforts. We spend a lot of time of our day, morning till evening. We keep doing the same job, spending so much time, all 7 days a week. We do the same thing again and again. Lot of efforts, time, money, time and energy we spend. Tat rajasa yudavitam. Bhagavan says these kind of karma are called rajasa karma. Karmas which are inspired by desire, done with our own ahankara and done with a lot of time, energy spent with a lot of efforts, exertion and bahul alayasa, ayasa. Then these karmas are called rajasika karma. In the next shloka, Bhagavan describes what is the tamas karma. Anubandham kshayam hinsam anapekshya cha paurusham mohadarapyate karma yat tamasam muchyate. Bhagavan says karma yat anapeksha. When actions start without thinking. Apeksha here, anapeksha does not mean without expectation. It means without thinking. We don't think when we start the actions. Bhagavan says, what do we not think about? One, anubandham. Anubandham means all the after effects, consequences of the actions that we are going to start doing. And a lot of times, we take decision without thinking and then we have to repent and then we have to, mend the ways, which is even more difficult. We don't look at or think about the other side of whatever we are going to do. So Bhagavan is trying to say that this kind of karma is a tamas karma. Anapeksha, kshayam anapeksha. We don't think about the time, money and energy, the peace of mind that we will spend by doing this karma. We just, get an idea, thought, and then we jump into the action. We start doing it. So we need to think about all this before we start doing our actions. Hinsam anapeksha. Hinsa means we don't think about the harm that we will cause to certain people when we do this karma, to our family members. What will be the effect? What will be the kind of, harm to our relationships? All this, at what cost we are going to do these kind of actions. We don't generally think about it so much before we start or inspire or impel into actions or we start our actions. Bhagavan says this is the tamas karma. Cha paurusham anapeksha. And without thinking of my capabilities, my samarthya, my paurusha. Paurusha means what I'm able to achieve, what I'm capable of achieving. If I don't think about it and still put a very large or a hefty goal and then start working and I don't reach anywhere and I spend so much of my time, energy, and mohat arabhyate. All these actions, when they are started with moha. Moha means kind of a delusion. We haven't given a thought. We are all with attachments. With the delusion, we start without any giving proper thought. If we start this tamasam uchyate, these kind of actions are called tamas actions in the eyes of the Lord. And that's why Bhagavan says we must think about a lot of things before we start doing our actions. From tamasa karma, we should go more towards rajasa, and from rajasa, we should go more towards the sattvic karma. In the next shloka now, Bhagavan, 3 shlokas, Bhagavan describes the 3 types of different karta, the doers. First, he describes the sattvic karta, mukta sango naham vadi, dhrutyutsaha samanvitaha, siddhya siddhyor nirvikaraha, karta sattvika uchyate. Karta sattvika uchyate. This kind of a person is called a sattvic person, kartas. Which person? Mukta sangaha. He is devoid of all attachments while he is doing his actions. And what kind of attachments? Bhagavan has already said. One is karma sanga, actions towards karma. Second is kartrutva sanga, to our pride, our arrogance, our ahankara. And third attachment is to our fruits of the karma, the results of the karma, called phala sanga. So all this sanga we have to avoid. Bhagavan is terribly against sanga, and he talks about sanga attachments a lot of times in Gita Ji. that we should not be attached to all these karma, kartrutva and phalasanga. Anahamvadi. Ahamvadi means I have some pride about myself, that arrogance. Anahamvadi means na ahamvadi, means I don't have pride, without pride, with a lot of gratitude, sharing the credit of whatever we do. Dhruti utsaha samanvitaha, with a lot of dhruti. Dhruti is dhairya, patience, and utsaha is enthusiasm. So patience on one side and enthusiasm on one side, though this may sound a little contradictory. Patience means you need to wait a little to get your results. Enthusiasm means you are very keen doing the work or the job to get the results. So though this sounds a little, contradictory, but actually both are needed in proportions. You also need a lot of patience and you also need a lot of enthusiasm when you are pursuing a spiritual quest, especially the Sattvic Karta. Bhagavan says when one is doing the action without attachment, you need, in this spiritual journey, you need both Dhruti and Utsaha. Siddhi asiddhi nirvikara. So this person remains unperturbed, remains serene, does not get disturbed whenever he gets success or failure. Yes, he may be happy or a little sad. Yes, but then he will be recovered very fast. He will try to analyze the failures or the success, and then he'll get over it, and then he'll start in his own duty, actions or kartavya karma. So he actually receives all these fruits of action as prasada buddhi. He accepts whatever comes to him. It may be success, may be failure, tries to learn from that, shares the credit that has been given to him for whatever he is doing. And this type of a person, Bhagavan says, is a sattvic karta, is a sattvic doer, is none other than the karma yogi, because only karma yogi will do actions without attachment, without ahankara, and with a lot of dhruti, utsaha. From outside he won't be lazy, or there won't be alasya, pramada, but he will be all enthusiastic into the actions, and that is the sign of a karma yogi, which is the first goal, as the Lord says. In the next shloka, Bhagavan describes the Rajasa Karta, the Rajasic person. Ragi karma phala prepsuhu lubdho hinsatmako shuchihi harsha shokanvita karta rajasa parikirtitaha. Bhagavan says Ragi. Ragi means a person who has attachment to his desires, who has raga, attachments while he does his actions. Karma phala prepsuhu. One has a strong desire for the results. Not only is attached to his actions, but he also has a strong desire for a particular type of result that should be obtained. Lubdha. Lubdha means he is greedy. When he achieves something, he wants more and more. At any cost, he wants to get more and more. Hinsatmakaha. He may become even violent sometimes if his desires are not met. Ashuchihi. Does not bother for bhaya shuddhi, cleanliness. Does not have pure intentions, antar shuddhi. Harsha shokanvitaha. He is filled with elation and depression. Yes, it's okay to have regular joy, happiness, or sometimes to get upset, but then karma yogi will just come out of it very quickly, whereas this person will be extremely happy when he gets what he wants, and he'll be very depressed when he doesn't get what he wants, and that depression may go on for a long period of time. And that's why this kind of a person, Bhagavan says, is a Rajasic Karta, who is attached, who has strong desires, who is greedy, who wants to do anything at any cost to achieve his success. He doesn't care for cleanliness or the means, but his ends are only, greed is the only focus. So such a person is Bhagavan, in the eyes of the Lord, is Rajasic. And then Bhagavan describes the Tamasic Karta. Ayukta prakruta stabdaha shatho naishkruti kolasaha Vishadi stirga sutricha karta tamasa uchyate. Ayukta. Ayukta means one who is not yukta. Yukta means one who is together. His body, mind, everything is together, means he is disciplined. Ayukta means one who is indisciplined, one who is impulsive, one who is unaware, one who does not think much, one who is not together. He may speak something else, he may do something else. This kind of a person is called ayukta. Prakrutaha. Prakrutaha means one who is not refined, who is not matured, who is not cultured, who is not cultivated, is more like a natural or a childlike something. His mind is also like childlike. So that is a person who is a Prakruta. Stabdaha is one who is very stiff, one who is egoistic, who is not able to mold or adjust. He only wants everything to be done from his point of view, his or her point of view. Shataha. Shata means a cheater or a manipulator. Tries to manipulate things so that he can achieve whatever he wants to achieve at any cost. Naishkrutika. Sadist. Enjoys giving pain to others to get his pleasure. Alasaha. Is lazy, careless towards his duty. Considers his duty as a boja or as a baggage. Vishadi. Somebody who is in sorrow, in pain, is dull, keeps on complaining about a lot of things that we may be having. Dirghasutri. Dirghasutri is one who keeps postponing his duties, postponing his work. His mentality is such that, okay, aaj ka kaam main kal karunga, kal ka kaam parso karunga. This person is called a Dirghasutri. Karta tamas uchyate. This person is called a tamasic person in the eyes of the Lord. So now, after describing the Sattvic, Rajasic and the Tamasic differences of the Gnana, Karma and Karta, Bhagavan in the next few shlokas is describing the three differences of Buddhi and Dhruti. So in this shloka, the 29th one, Bhagavan pledges to describe these three differences of Buddhi and Dhruti. Buddhir bhedam dhruteshchaiva gunata trividham shruno rochyamanamasheshena pruthaktvena dhananjaya. Bhagavan says, Buddhehe vedam dhrutehe cha eva gunatah trividam shunu. Now you listen to the three differences of the intellect, the Buddhi Shakti, and the Dhruti. Dhruti means the resolute or self-control. That is the Dhruti Shakti, based on the three gunas, the Sattva, Rajas and the Tamas. Rochyamanam pruthatvena asheshena dhananjaya. Oh Arjuna, I'll tell you clearly with all the differences so that nothing remains to be said. You will not be needed to be said anything or told anything. You will clearly understand what is the difference, Bhagavan says. So Buddhi Shakti and Dhruti Shakti are essentially the functions of the brain. Bhagavan has already described the Gnana. And we may think why he is now describing the Buddhi, because Gnana has already been described. What is the difference between Gnana, knowledge, and Buddhi or the brain power? Essentially it is the same. No, but there is a subtle difference between these two. The knowledge that we acquire, any knowledge from the outer world or whatever, it may be a bhautik knowledge, the worldly knowledge, or it could be the adhyatmic knowledge, the spiritual quest. All this knowledge is vritti gnana. It is occurs because of the vritti in the mana, and there is a lot of understanding how Vedanta explains how vritti, the sattva, rajas and the tamas, how it works to understand this knowledge. But here essentially Buddhi is the sthana, it's a place, it's an intellect, it's a place where this knowledge remains. So it is the place where this, that's why this Buddhi is a kind of a, Shakti through which we attain the Gnana. And that's why Bhagavan describes these two things. And what is the Dhruti? Dhruti Shakti is another power of ours to control ourselves. Dhruti essentially means Dharana Shakti. To Dharana means to control ourselves, to modulate, to discipline ourselves so that we can actually live our life properly. And so this is called the Dhruti Shakti, and we will come to it in a few times when Bhagavan describes the different types of Dhruti. So first Bhagavan is describing the Sattvic Buddhi, Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha ya vetti buddhi sa partha sattviki. Bhagavan says ya vetti, one who knows appropriately, properly, what is pravritti, what is nivritti, what we need to pursue, what we need to give up. And Bhagavan has already described these two paths, the pravritti marga and the nivritti marga. What we need to give up, whether we need to give up karma, whether we need to give karma phala, what we need to pursue, what is that we need to give priorities to our life, and all these understanding, if some buddhi has, then it is called a sattvic buddhi. Then Bhagavan says karya akarya. He describes four things here. Karya akarya. What are the actions we need to do it? What we need to do it as our duty, as our kartavya, as our dharma, as according to as described in the Shastra. And this, if we do it, then this is called karya. Properly we understand if akarya, what actions we need not do it, when we should not do it, which are called Shastra Nishiddha, which are described in the scripture that Nishiddha, we should not do it, which we should be avoiding, adharma karma. So this is called karya akarya viveka. Second is a bhaya abhaya. If we know appropriately what is bhaya, which are the actions which will increase our fear, which are the actions which will make me abhaya or fearless. And finally, Bhagavan says, bandham moksham cha. What is actually the causes and what are the effects of bandhan, moksha, bondage and freedom. In life, most of us know that expectations lead to bondage. We expect, when we don't get, again, we develop, pain, miseries. We have a lot of complaints. We have problems with our near and dear ones. Also, we have a lot of expectations from people around us, and these expectations create a lot of bondage. This is from a worldly or a bhautik perspective, whereas from a adhyatmic perspective, bondage is, Vedanta says it is mithya. It is the only satya is Brahma Satya. Jagat is a mithya. It is a bondage, and only by understanding the Brahma Gnan we can get freedom, eternal freedom, which is called moksha. And this is called so this kind of understanding is the person who has the sattvic intellect will have this kind of an understanding. Buddhi sapartha sattvic yo Arjun. This intellect is called a sattvic intellect. Next, Bhagavan describes what is the Rajasic Buddhi, the Rajasic understanding. Yaya dharmam dharmam cha karyam cha karyameva cha ayathavat prajanati buddhi sa partha rajasi. Bhagavan says, O Partha, yaya ayathavat prajanati, one that who does not know appropriately. Yathavat means we know appropriately, properly, that is a sattvic buddhi. But here Bhagavan said, ayathavat prajanati. We don't know properly, appropriately what is dharma, what is not dharma, what is karya, what is not karya, what needs to be done, what need not be done, what should be done, what should not be done. But we just work from our own likes and dislikes or our own strong raga, tvesha. That kind of a buddhi, Bhagavan says, is Rajasi buddhi. When we operate from this kind of a perspective, this is the Rajasic buddhi. And the confusion and hallmarks, doubts are the hallmarks of this Rajasic buddhi, because we don't know what needs to be done. We may do this and then suddenly we say, no, not this, we would like to do this, or this way, not this way, we would like to do this way. So there is a lot of confusion, doubt, because there is not much proper thought, there is not much proper knowledge behind this, and that's why this intellect is called a Rajasic knowledge or buddhi. Next, Bhagavan is describing the Tamasic intellect. Adharmam dharmam mitiya manyate tamasavruta sarvarthana viparitanshcha buddhi sa partha tamasi. Bhagavan says, this kind of people understand, tamasic people understand adharmam dharmam itiya, means what is adharma, in that they see dharma. They see whatever is improper, in that they see, okay, no, this is the proper thing to do. They see dharma in the adharma, they see adharma in the dharma. So this is a kind of a reverse kind of a thinking. Bhagavan says, sarvarthan viparintanscha. They have a reverse thinking, they have a contrarian thinking. It is not the right thinking, but they see in the good things, they see the bad. In the bad things, they see the good. And this kind of a viparyaya, the opposite kind of a thinking, Bhagavan says, this is the tamasic buddhi. Famous example is the Duryodhana in the Mahabharata, where he thought that, fighting the war is righteous, it is dharma. And then he went on to say that, he knows what is dharma, what is adharma, but is still pravruta into action because of this kind of intellect. He is born into this action. Finally, now Bhagavan is trying to describe the three types of dhruti shakti, the self-discipline, the power, the sattvic dhruti first. Dhrutya yaya dharayate manah pranendriya kriyaha yogena vyabhicharinya dhruti sa partha sattviki. So Bhagavan is describing the sattvic dhruti, the sattvic power of our self-control modulation. Yaya avyabhicharina dhrutya, unflinching resolve. When we regulate our mana, prana, indriya, kriya, all these we regulate our mind, activity, all our senses, kriyas, all this, when this is properly yogena, and this is attained, this regulation or discipline is attained with yoga power or yoga shakti or yoga shastra through yoga, or yoga can also mean by bhakti, by devotion to the Lord. So this Dhruti Shakti, our Guruji explains, is like a brake of a car. Like say for example, when we want to go from one place to other, we will like to see where is this other place, which road should I take. We will think about We may go to Google Maps and see the ways, different ways, and we'll select the right way, and then we'll start off in our car. So this is the Buddhi Shakti. When we are actually traveling in the car, we have to modulate the car, apply some brake, apply some accelerator, apply brake again, make sure that we don't hit someone, make sure that we modulate, discipline our driving properly. And this control of our car is the self-modulation, is called the Dhruti Shakti. Similarly, in our life, in the journey of our life, we have to modulate our body, our mind, our senses, our intellect, all this we have to modulate. And this power has been given to us by the Lord. This is called the Dhruti Shakti. And this power, we must use it to discipline our mind to, small little niyama, rules we can follow in our life. And this will help us to increase this power of our self-disciplining. And this is the Sattvic. In the next shloka, Bhagavan describes the Rajasic Dhruti. Yaya tu dharma kamarthan dhrutya dharayate Arjuna prasangena phalakangshi dhruti sa partha rajasi. So Bhagavan says, when this Dhruti Shakti is used for dharma, artha, kama. As you know, there are 4 types of Purushartha: Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. But Moksha is the Shreya Purushartha. All the others are the Preya Purushartha, Dharma, Artha and Kama, which keep us in this world. And most of us are into this Dharma, Artha and Kama. Dharma means we want to do the right thing. Kama means we have lots of desires. And Artha means all the, wealth and the objects and all the securities that objects are going to give me. I want to collect those, parigraha karna hai mujhe. So this Dhruti, this power, this helps me to do all this Dharma, Artha and Kama Purushartha. Prasangena. Prasangena means as the occasion arises, as and when the need comes or arises, phalakangshihi, with the expectation of the result. And this is what we keep doing all our life. When we are a child, we are all focused on playing and education, and then we do it with a lot of expectations. That is the occasion. Then as we grow up, we go for higher education, then we start our work, in our job or profession, we do it with all the necessary efforts, the energies we spend for our wealth, for accumulating wealth, for maintaining our family, security, all this. And this is also kind of a Dhruti Shakti that God has given us. We use it for the Rajasic purpose, means we use it for the Dharma, Artha, Kama, as per the occasion arises and without with expectation of the results. This is called the Rajasic Dhruti. And what is Tamasic Dhruti? Bhagavan says, Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madam evacha na vimunchati durmedha dhruti sa partha tamasi. Bhagavan says, when one is not able to leave, yada na vimunchati, we are not able to leave what? Swapnam. Swapnam is not dreams, because dreams are not in our control. Because Bhagavan says we are not able to leave, we have to understand that here Swapna means the daydreaming. Daydreaming is Diva Swapna or Manoratha, all the types of thoughts, desires, akanshas, expectations that we have in our mind. Oh, I want to achieve this, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to eat this, I want to travel to this place, I want to see this TV channel, I want to see this sports channel. All this that comes in our mind all the time is the Swapnam. Bhagavan says, Bhayam, all the fears, we are not able to leave. Na vimunchati, shokam, all the kinds of sorrow, pain, vishadam, we are not able to leave. Na vimunchati, madam, our pride we are not able to leave. This Dhruti Shakti is called the Tamasic Dhruti. Bhagavan says such a person is called the Durmedha. His intellect is not proper, is disturbed, his mind is disturbed, his thinking is not proper because he is not able to give up all this in the eyes of the Lord. Bhagavan says this is Tamasic Dhruti. So Bhagavan is trying to tell us all this to make us think and understand where we should use our power of self-control, this Dhruti Shakti that Lord has given us, how we can use it in the best, so that from our Tamasic Dhruti, we go to more Rajasic, and from there we elevate ourselves to more Sattvic, self-disciplining, and then finally we can go beyond all these 3 guna. So now Bhagavan changes the topic a little bit and describes the 3 types of Sukha, the happiness. Bhagavan is describing the Sattvic Sukha. First, he starts describing Sukham Tvidanim Trividham Shrunu me Bharatarshabha Abhyasadramate Yatra Dukhantam cha Nigachati Bhagavan says, now Arjun, I am describing the three types of sukha, happiness. Please listen to this carefully. Abhyasat ramate yatra. This is, here Bhagavan is describing the sattvic sukha, and that's why only with abhyasa, only with the practice, and the practice here is the gnana abhyasa, dhyana abhyasa. Only with this we can understand, get the sattvic sukha, because what Bhagavan is going to tell in the next shloka, dukhantam cha niganchati, because it gives an end to all the kinds of sorrow, all the dukkha is nigachati, is it comes to an end by this kind of abhyasa, with this kind of a practice of meditation, dhyana. And this is what Bhagavan says, everyone, all of us, we want to be ever happy, we want sattvic sukha, which does not have any pain, any dukkha, lesh matra bhi dukkha nahi hai, always we want to be happy, and that is what is the sattvic sukha. So Bhagavan is describing in the next shloka, what is this sattvic sukha? Yattadagre vishamiva pariname mrutopamam tatsukham sattvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. Bhagavan says, yattad agre visham. Agre visham means initially it seems like a poison, and it is very difficult. The sattvic happiness, whatever Bhagavan is describing, eva pariname amrutopamam, but eventually it becomes like nectar. And this sukha, which is perceived in a atma buddhi prasadajam, in a pure, clear, stable mind, and this Bhagavan says this is the sattvic sukha. Essentially, Bhagavan is trying to tell us that the spiritual sukha, the spiritual or the satsanga and the kind of adhyatmic sukha that we get is the lasting, pure sattvic sukha. It initially is very difficult because this looks very difficult. This is not our normal samskara. And that's why it's difficult for us to understand initially, but eventually, as we understand it more and we understand it more and go deeper into it, it becomes like a nectar. It is so beautiful. It is so good. It gives us so much of happiness, satisfaction in life. It shows us a real perspective of life. It makes our mind very peaceful. It gives us a lot of happiness. Even the dhyana sadhana gives a lot of happiness. And this is only perceived in the mind which is pure. And that is what is called the sattvic joy. And this is the one that we all want, yearn for this. And this is what Bhagavan is describing us here, that it may be difficult initially, even on the worldly level. If I want to enjoy, good sukha of my body, mind, I may have to go through an exercise schedule, try to control my weight by doing a lot of, dieting. And all this may be initially be very difficult because I'm not used to it. But eventually, once I get into that mode and I achieve those goals, it becomes like a nectar. So this kind of happiness, sattvic sukha, is something that is very useful. It may be difficult initially. Similarly, Bhagavan in the next shloka describes the rajasic happiness. Vishayendriya sanyogat tattadagre mrutopamam pariname vishamiva tatsukham rajasam smrutam. Bhagavan says the rajasic sukha or happiness is Vishay Indriya Sanyogat. Vishaya means all the objects, Indriya means our senses, all the five Jnanendriyas and the five Vishaya. When they come in contact with each other, the sukha that is perceived by the mind is called the rajasic sukha. Initially, yattat agre amrutopamam. Initially, it feels like nectar. We all have, very good experience of this, because whatever we enjoy eating, our favorite foods, when we put it in our mind, we enjoy it so much. It feels like nectar, all those things. Pariname, Bhagavan says, visham eva etat. Finally, it is like poison. If we keep eating those spicy, oily, fried, all those sweets, keep on eating ice creams, we're going to get the pain, sorrow, diseases, obesity, diabetes, and other problems. Even it may lead to a lot of greed, violence, and other problems. So all this is poison. Bhagavan says, whatever we keep pursuing with our mind, our Jnanendriyas like Sparshendriya, keeps seeing something, and then it feels like nectar. We keep seeing all this internet and lot of other things we keep seeing in the TVs. It may feel good for us, but in the future it's not good because it creates a wrong type of impression, sanskara in our mind. And that's why pariname, it is like poison. It gives rise to greed, violence, and all these worldly pleasures are all transient, anitya. They are rajasic sukha in the eyes of the Lord, because they are all indriya and the vishaya sanyogat, and they are all these, they are in this world. The next shloka, Bhagavan describes the tamasic sukha, tat tamasama yudahitam yadagre chanubandhe cha sukham mohanam atmanah Nidralasya pramadottham tattamasamrudahyutam. Bhagavan says, when this happiness, which initially as well as later, it is Atma Mohanam, it deludes or confuses our mind, things like addictions and all these are all are tamasic sukha, does not allow the person to take judicious decision. His mind is clouded, it's confusion, there is a lot of confused mind, there is no clear-cut intellect, there is no clarity of thought. And this sukha is obtained from, Bhagavan says, Nidra, Alasya and Pramada, obtained from excessive sleep. Yes, everybody needs an adequate sleep, like 6 to 8 hours sleep. But if it is excessive sleep, or even after we wake up in the bed, we keep lying down in the bed for a long period of time, then this is a tamasic sukha. Laziness, alasa, we try to, not do things, our duties, our kartavya, we try to keep postponing our duties, we try to be careless in our duty, we don't, instead of doing the right thing, we keep doing the wrong thing. This carelessness in our duty, pramada, all this sukha is a tamasic sukha in the eyes of the Lord. And Bhagavan is trying to tell us all this because we need to change, be aware and change from tamasic, rajasic towards, more go towards the sattvic sukha. And finally, the final shlok for today's session, and Bhagavan says, everything in this universe consists of the three gunas. And with this shloka, he comes to the end of this, describing the three gunas, the sattva, rajas, tamas, of all these kinds of, for the different types of our life that he is describing. न तदस्ति पृथिव्यां वा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्वं प्रकृतिजैर्भुक्तं यदेपि स्यात्रिभिर्गुणैः. Bhagavan says, Prithvivyam va divi deveshu, in this world, in this space, outer space, or in the heaven, va puna na tat asti sattvam. There is no such thing, there is no such existence, there is no such vastu. Prakriti jai muktam eta ebi syat tribi gunaihi, which is devoid of these three gunas, which are derived from the nature, the sattva, rajas, and the tamas. And with this, Bhagavan ends up subject of the three gunas. And we need to understand how we can persevere towards to become more sattvic. That's why we should keep reading this, understanding this in our life, where we can use this shlokas. And Bhagavan is trying to tell us that beyond these three gunas, there is something that the tattva we need to understand. And that's why now in the next shlokas, is going to describe the varna attributes, the guna based on the varna, sanskaras, all our primary duties based on our Kshatriya, Brahman, Vaishya, and Shudra, all the four varnas is going to describe from the next shloka, so that we can go more towards from the Triguna and go towards the Nirgun Tattva. So with this, we summarize the second session of the 18th Adhyaya. Bhagavan describes the three factors, the Gnana, Gniya, and the Gnata, which inspires into action, and the three which are needed for action, the Karma, Karta, and the Karana, which are the tools for the action. And then Bhagavan describes the three types of Gnana, Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Then he describes the three types of karma. Then the karta. He also describes the three types of buddhi and the dhruti shakti, the sattvic, rajasic, and the tamasic buddhi and the dhruti shakti. And finally, he describes the three types of sukha, the rajasic, tamasic, and the sattvic sukha. And finally, he says everything in this universe, entire Brahmanda. I don't want to describe now more things, because everything, it comes from the karya karana sanghata. It comes from whatever is in the karana. Karana means the prakriti, the maya, comes in the karya, in the world, because prakriti and maya is trigunatmika. All this that we see in this existence is trigunatmika. And with this, he summarizes this part of the session of the 18th Adhyaya. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.